Off-grid renewable energy is a great way to reduce your carbon footprint and save money on your energy bill. There are a few different types of systems to choose from, including solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal. It's important that we as business owners take the time out to research the pros and cons of each system to determine which one is the best for you and your business. Solar energy. It's one of the most popular as it is most efficient as well as it requires the least amount of maintenance. Wind energy is a great large scale for business operations, while hydro and geothermal energy are ideal for regions with an abundance of natural resources. If you are considering off-grid renewable energy, it's important to work with experienced professionals to ensure that your system is installed properly and safely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rhea Butler. I'm the Director of Business Operations here at the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center. And I would like to welcome you to our Renewable Energy Town Hall meeting. I would also like to welcome our wealth of knowledge with our panelists here this evening. Joining us, we have Mr. Julian Smith, who's the CEO of Bahamas Solar Energy, Ms. Garnell Pelicanos, who is the Director of Administration at Bahamas Development Bank. We have Mr. Patrick Smith, who is the Lead Technician at Green Foam. We're going to have a conversation with our panelists here, who are our experts in the room. But while we're having that conversation, I want you to, I know you may be burning with those questions, but hold the questions until the end, and then we'll give you an opportunity to ask your questions, okay? Is that okay with you? And we're also making provisions for our persons who are watching on social media, so that those of you that's watching online, if you have any questions for any of our panelists, please do drop your questions in the comment section, and we will definitely have those questions asked for you. All right, everybody's ready? Come on now, help me out. Are you ready? Yeah. All right, let's pick the brains of the experts that's in the room. All right, so our first question that we're gonna ask this question to Mr. Julian Smith. Let's start off by helping our audience to understand what is renewable energy.
Good night. Well, renewable energy is the process of actually producing energy through our natural resources, which in most cases are unlimited. And that renewable energy that is actually generated slower than the rate of the production of those natural resources. So take, for instance, we have several areas, which is one, solar, which we spoke about, which is the sun, generating the rays from the sun. The other one is also wind power, which is produced from the wind. Then you have biomass, which I didn't hear anybody speak about, which is really plants and animals producing this radioactive material. And then also you have the geothermal energy, which is the energy source from the earth, which is really radioactive material decaying in the earth, producing heat, gas, and the very nature. And I think there's supposed to be 5 of them. Biomass, we have the geothermal, we have solar, we have wind, and we have the hydro power, right? And that hydro power is really generated through rivers or dams or ocean currents. And these turbines, which actually produce kinetic energy, and the oceans which produce that kinetic energy, it's transformed into the mechanical energy through these devices, and that mechanical energy is also transformed now into power, which is used.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Smith. Now, I want to go ahead and now turn it over to Ms. Garnell Pelicanos. Help those business owners that's in here wanting to understand, how do businesses benefit from renewable energy?
I thought my mouth was big enough. We did not need a microphone. Thank you, Rhea. So basically, Leah would have mentioned, and all of us that are in business know that energy is one of the major costs of production. So it stands to reason if you are able to reduce the cost of your energy, then you increase your profit and your operational efficiency, and that's how you benefit. Right? We all in business to make money. So if we're saving money, we're benefiting.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now, Mr. Patrick Smith,
Good night.
good night to you too. All right, so how does the planet benefit from renewable energy?
Oh, all right. The planet benefit from renewable energy, I use the word eco-friendly, because we're trying to keep it less populated, less polluted with the atmosphere, with the air from the carbine, and water pollution from what you call it again? That one? The turbine. Yeah, the turbine, the water. Trying to keep it more energy efficient and more eco-friendly for everyone. It's not less pollution, and we goes on, we're keeping more air and keeping it eco-friendly.
All right, so this is all about it being more eco-friendly. All right, all right, all right. Mr. Clark, what's the difference between renewable energy and energy efficiency?
Okay, so piggybacking off of what Julian would have mentioned, renewable energy is an alternative form of energy compared to your conventional fossil fuel powered energy sources such as diesel generators, gas turbines that are utilized in the power stations to provide you with electricity. The advantage with renewable energy, obviously is it's zero emissions, so it doesn't contribute to global warming, which contributes to climate change. And as you could see, we're feeling the negative effects of climate change with respect to stronger hurricanes and all of these severe wind events. So one of the advantages of using renewable energy is it doesn't contribute to global warming and the negative connotations with climate change, but also it enables you to achieve cost savings on your energy supply, because using the renewable energy sources, that's energy that you don't have to purchase from the utility, right? So it saves you on your energy costs. Now, the difference between renewable energy and energy efficiency is energy efficiency is, on the one hand, using energy efficient products, which will use lower energy than products that are not as energy efficient. So for instance, we have LED lighting in this room. So the LED lighting uses less energy than if we were to utilize the old-fashioned incandescent bulbs. And so you have the energy reductions, which also results in energy cost savings. And another part of energy efficiency is operating your devices in an energy efficient manner. So you can have energy efficient products installed, but for instance, leaving these lights on, let's say if they were to leave these lights on all night until tomorrow morning, no one is going to be here overnight. So that's wastage. So it's a combination of using energy efficient products on the one hand and operating in an energy efficient manner. And that saves you on your energy and your energy costs. So a combination of energy efficiency and renewable energy is best to achieve your overall reductions in your energy costs.
Sounds like we all have a part to play, especially when we're considering the climate change. All right, now, panelists, I'm going to ask you to do me this small favor. Our viewers who are online, they're having a challenge with hearing us clearly, so I would ask you to just make sure that you hold that microphone right up to your mouth and project your voice so that everybody in the room can hear you loud and clear, and our listening audience can also hear, okay? All right. Now, the question that I want to ask to Mr. Patrick Smith is spray foam insulation an example of renewable energy or energy efficiency?
I will put it to be energy efficiency.
Hold on, Mike.
You can hear me good now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
put it to be more energy efficient, because the key reason is we want to get the maximum energy out with using less push. So we want to use like foam. We usually insulate the roof to keep the AC cool. So we want to draw the heat out from the AC so the coolness can go into the house. So we're trying to efficient the AC to work as less as possible with less power used. So I put it on a energy efficient side.
Now, you just talked about foam. Help us to understand a little bit more about what are the benefits of the spray foam insulation versus the fiberglass insulation.
Okay, fiberglass and foam insulation. The difference is foam is more water-based, so it's really stick to any surface, concrete, wood, plastic, and it's more airtight. And we get a better R value from less air pockets and develop from mold and dust bites. And you even have a heat barrier and a vapor barrier with the foam. Yeah, so that's a big difference between the foam and the fiber insulation.
Tell me about the fiber a little bit.
The fiber insulation is not really adhesive to the product because it doesn't stick there because you'd have to cut it out, frame it out, put it in place, staple it down, but it will still have air pockets, letting that air flow, and that's a problem with the efficiency because you're trying to have an air barrier, vapor barrier, and a heat barrier. So we need all of them to be sealed completely because a 3% gap will cause like a 15% difference in that energy bill.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, and talk a little bit about how does the spray foam insulation cost versus the fiberglass insulation? What's the difference?
Everything goes on square footage and measurement. So sometimes it'll be almost the same, but you'll pay additional on the fiberglass because you'll have the square footage will be the same, but insulation fee will be a different fee along with the fiberglass. Our one is just one set rate. So the fiberglass will be more expensive and sometimes because you have to cut it out, install it, and put it in. But our one just stick to the bubble, liquid, and just expand straight to the beams, cores, or wherever you applying it to the walls, to the roof, to whatever decking you putting it to. Because we have two different types, closed cell, open cell.
Closed cell, open cell. I mean, you just said something else. I need you to explain that. I don't
Now,
understand that.
There's different types of foam out there. There's closed cell, there's open cell. The open cells expand, open up for the tropical. It really keeps the heat out. And the closed cell is like really for waterproofing and structure forming in voids in places. They have like valleys and some hot spot building, some spots of foam just can expand and go to all natural spots.
All right, thank you for clarifying. That was better? That helped? That helped you understand what he was saying just now? It helped you too? That's good. All right, now Mr. Clark, solar is an example of renewable energy that comes from a natural resource. So why do businesses actually have to seek permission from ERCA? Why are you laughing? ERCA and BPL before they install solar PVC systems, or PV systems, sorry.
Short answer, it's the rules.
So can you expand just a bit more on that?
Right. So the Electricity Act was amended in 2015, which facilitated grid-tied solar systems to be installed. And ERCA is the regulator for the energy utility. And they would have established the necessary rules. So for commercial installations, in the first instance, the necessary application, and I want to say something because in my experience, you have a lot of some installers, not a lot, but they don't follow the rules. So before you actually acquire the system, the application has to be submitted to ERCA in the first instance. ERCA will vet the application, and after ERCA would have vetted the application, they pass it on to BPL. So ERCA would give the initial preliminary approval in principle. They would send it over to BPL because BPL is the utility. Now, I'm speaking specifically for Nassau and the Family Islands. Grand Bahama, you deal directly with Grand Bahama Power and Light. So ERCA would send it to BPL after they would have done the initial approval in principle. BPL would do the final approval in principle. After the final approval in principle would have been obtained for the proposed system that you want to install, that gives the clearance for your designated solar installer to go ahead and order your equipment components and begin the actual installation process. But essentially, that's the rules that were established by ERCA. And this came out of the amendments to the Electricity Act, as I mentioned earlier.
Well, thank you so much for clarifying that. For many persons who probably considering they could just go ahead and do what it is that they want to do. If a business is leasing a commercial space, who would bear the cost for the installation of a solar PV system the business tenant or the landlord? And that's for you, Mr. Clark.
The answer to that really is it depends on who's actually paying the bill. In most instances, when you have a lease, in most instances, the tenant is responsible for paying the utility bills. So in that particular instance, the tenant would be the one to bear the cost of the installation. You do have situations where the landlord is responsible for the utility costs. So obviously, they would be the ones to underwrite that cost. But whoever's paying the bill would be the one who's responsible for absorbing the cost of the installation. Usually.
Usually. Now, you have something you want to add? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to mention, I've seen cases where the landlord has actually taken a percent of that cost on. And one of the reasons was because they have a good tenant. And they realized that if this tenant is actually bearing a lighter load, then possibly the continuation of the business will, be longer. The longevity of it will be longer. So in some cases, I've seen it where the tenant has actually chipped in to say, okay, they are going to help. Yeah, help with the purchase of the solar system. In some cases, I've seen the tenant actually installed it.
I wanted to add, right.
Sorry, the landlord, sorry.
I wanted to add to that, Rhea, that, and that's a good idea. So if you are leasing and you have a defined term lease, it makes sense for you to propose to your landlord to say, okay, let's establish a buyback arrangement now, because I'm putting this solar on your building. You know I can't take this solar with me, these panels when I go. So let's enter into a buyback arrangement now, so that when I am leaving, even if it's at a discounted value, that I would get some rebate on that. It happens. And it depends, like he would have said, on the relationship that you have with the relationship that you would have established with your landlord. If, for me, as a landlord, if you are a good tenant and I want you to stay, I am going to make those arrangements with you if possible.
And I just wanted to say, in some cases, you can actually carry the solar system with you. It has a 25-year lifespan. So, I mean, if you're not with the tenant for 25 years, then whatever the lifespan of that system is, you can actually, carry it with you. In some cases, you could create that buyback with the tenant, to actually assume that cost.
Now, Garnell, you started to talk a little bit more about the landlord. Can or does the landlord care to benefit if their tenants are energy efficient?
So again, it would depend on the nature of the tenancy, right? So if light included, then as a landlord, I need you to be as efficient as possible. I'm putting in those LED bulbs. I'm giving you energy efficient appliances. I'm doing whatever needs to happen, because I have that included in the cost of your rent, and I need to keep that cost down. For my tenant who's listening, I'm giving you that energy efficient air condition so that you are so you're burning less. So it depends on the nature of the tenancy. If the tenant is responsible for their own energy costs, then the landlord is typically not going to care. Like, you do what is best for you.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now, Mr. Smith, can a business completely go off grid? And then does BPL allow this? Now make sure you explicitly.
Yes. So the answer to your question, first of all, is yes. A business can go completely off grid. Of course, when you understand the whole concept of going off grid, it's not as easy, because if you are completely off grid, that means you have to generate the power that fully allows your business to function effectively. And when I say function effectively, I'm talking with everything that needs to be on whenever it needs to be on. Mm-hmm. And of course, for that to happen, you not only need solar, but you also need a battery backup. And then you have to look at cases when if you're off grid, then you're continually off grid, so you're never ever depending on BPL. So you're talking about a very heavy battery backup system. Of course, the regulatory agent is really ERCA, where you would actually get that approval. And of course, most of the time when ERCA gives the approval, BPL kind of, goes along once that process is done properly. So yeah, the answer is yes to your question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. If
Go
I
ahead.
can just interject, with respect to going off-grid, that's with a renewable system. But if you want to go off-grid with a fossil fuel-powered generation source, usually that's not allowed. Once the utility is in the immediate area or where service extension is possible, they usually won't allow you to operate a fossil fuel power generation. So that's usually reserved exclusively for renewable systems.
All right.
And in the case of going off-grid, that further makes it even more important to be energy efficient because, when you're going off-grid, you're going to have a storage component with batteries. So the batteries only have a certain capacity in terms of hours of providing you with power. So you want your systems to be as energy efficient as possible. So in all cases, energy efficiency has to be done on the front end. That's best practice, especially in the instance when you're considering going off-grid.
Now, Garnell, I'd like you to answer this question. Should businesses invest in energy efficiency before renewable energy?
I think absolutely. So energy efficiency is a low-hanging fruit, and it can give you immediate cost savings. If I could save $1 today, as a business person, I need to save that $1 today. So utilize energy efficiency to save immediately on your recurring bill. You're minimizing it, and that will give you time to contemplate or to save up for or to come to B2B for your renewable energy project. But you more than likely could handle immediately just maximizing your energy efficiency.
Now, I want to put this question to the panelists. Do you agree with Garnell's answer? Listen, the two of them pull up the mic to say.
No objections. I think she's right.
But she's pretty correct. That's usually the best course of action, energy efficiency first.
Okay, Mr. Smith, what are the best energy efficient products and services to invest in?
I would say some of the best energy efficient products and services. I would say your air conditioning system, which actually uses 40% of your energy costs. And the challenge is a lot of persons go after these sales on these air conditioning systems. And my recommendation would be this is outside of your energy.
Pull the mic up.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is outside of your energy audit now, because of course the first thing is to really get an energy audit so you can see where all this wastage is, But most of the power is really in heating and cooling. And so I would recommend that persons, like I say, after they've done their audit, to really buy high SEER rating units, higher SEER rating units, which generally burn less electricity. Of course, we'll talk about our LED light bulbs, which burn a fraction of the cost. Also, I would recommend that persons put timer on their water heaters. Make sure that your water heater is only on at peak hours and it's not recycling the heat. And also, of course, we talk about foam insulation, making sure that the home is properly insulated. And I guess stuff like your dryer, get a gas dryer instead of an electric dryer, especially with Bahamians, washing all the time. So I think there are some of the big coin items to help, with your efficiency.
I don't know how I feel about the Bahamians who washing all the time. All the time. That's well, anyway, okay. I'll see if anybody have any comments on that afterwards. Okay, Mr. Clark, is it enough to invest in energy efficiency, or must we also practice energy efficiency?
Well, energy efficiency is holistic. In other words, you have energy efficient products and you're operating them energy efficiently. So in your term, that's practicing energy efficiency, but it's really all in one. So in the first instance, you want to make sure you have the most energy efficient products in the first instance, but you're also operating them in an energy efficient manner. So all of that encompasses energy efficiency.
Now, while you have the mic in your hand, still let us know what requires a bit more significant investment. Is it the renewable energy or the energy efficiency?
Usually it's going to be the renewable energy system. So best practice, industry practice is to invest in energy efficiency first and then renewables. I'll give you an actual example of a project I'm involved with right now. So using that same principle, we would have budgeted about $15,000 based on the results of the audit for energy efficiency improvements. And that enabled the cost of the proposed renewable system to drop by about $60,000. So we were looking at installing a system about $210,000, and that the cost of that renewable system dropped to about $151,000 or so. So that's an example. And that's because we were able to make the energy efficiency improvements first. If we didn't do that, we would have had to spend an extra $50,000 on the renewable system because we would have needed much more power from the renewable system to achieve the objectives that we're trying to achieve in terms of reducing the emissions for that particular project. So that's usually the best practice. Energy efficiency first and then renewables.
Well, that's definitely a significant drop. Now, Garnell, help us in understanding, and I'm sure the people in the room really want to know the answer to this question. Do banks provide funding for energy efficiency and renewable energy? So make sure you hold that microphone right close to your mouth so that we can all hear the answer.
So the short answer is yes. But everything is evaluated on a case-by-case basis. So let's start with energy efficiency first because that's normally the smaller one. In order to buy the energy efficient products, so again, that will depend on if you are a startup or if you're an existing business. So if you are an existing business, you have a relationship with your bank, an overdraft facility may very easily cover that, or a small loan added on, a further charge added on to your existing loan. If you are a new business, if you're starting up now, that could be covered under your working capital request. So most banks for startup businesses, they will give you a small amount for working capital. So as far as energy efficiency, depending on if you're existing or if you are a startup, then that could be covered. So when it comes to renewable energy, which may be the more capital intensive project, like he would have said, it could range from $15,000 to probably $201,000. So it all depends. It depends on the nature of your business. It depends on the viability of your business and if it makes sense. Any investment that we make in anything, right? I mean, I know renewable energy is sexy, and everybody wants to say that they have solar, etc. I'm glad I got one laugh in the crowd. So everybody wants to say that they have solar, but it has to make sense for your business. Because if you are spending $201,000 and you saving $600 a month, well, let me use a math that I could do. And if you're saving $500 a month, you know how much years it's going to take you to recoup your investment. So it has to make sense, and banks will look at that. Will look at your return on the investment. Is it viable? Does it make financial sense? So again, every project will be evaluated on its own merit.
Now, more specifically, I want to know, does Bahamas Development Bank offer any incentives, AKA grants? Somebody say grants. Grants. Say grants again. Grants. To businesses that want to be more energy efficient. Now, I know I get some people in the room.
I'm so glad that lady in the pink is in the back there, right? So at the moment, BDB does not offer a grant, but SBDC, as a part of their guarantee program, there is a grant component depending on how you qualify. So I also want to say that BDB and SBDC have the same parent, different pockets, same pants, right? So we're all a part of the government, the Bahamas government. So the Bahamas government, through the SPDC, will provide you with a grant.
Oh, goodness. I mean, thank you for that. Thank you for that answer. Now, Garnell, I still want to ask you this question as well. When considering funding, because I know a lot of people want to hear about the money, when considering funding applications for renewable energy or energy efficiency, do banks require an energy audit report?
So, no, it's not required, but it will substantiate your application. So it's an enhancement, right? So different banks will have different criteria. Thank you for that. So we'll have different criteria. Requirement, probably not. For us, no. But it will definitely, we look for independent evidence for anything that you proffer in your business plan. So an energy audit will definitely be a substantive evidence, and that's a CPA and me talking using CPA terms. But basically, you could come to me and say I can save plenty of money, and that doesn't really have any credibility. But if you come and bring me a audit report by to me, or any qualified auditor, that would carry a lot of weight.
Now, Mr. Clark, I need you to explain what's the purpose of an energy audit.
Okay, so an energy audit in simple terms is an assessment of understanding your existing energy consumption, the cost that you pay for that energy consumption. We look for recommendations to improve your energy efficiency. And we also explore potential investments in renewable systems. A part of the actual audit deliverables to build upon my good friend here from the Development Bank, we provide an economic analysis, because you would want to make the business case to your clients for these investments. You know, so usually when I'm preparing a proposal for an audit, there's usually a list of information that I require of the client. I want them to provide a budget, and it has to be a realistic budget based on what you're willing to spend. You know, you're looking at your existing energy cost profile. So she made a point, you know, I think she was piggybacking off of my mentioning $201,000, and that's fine. But the reality is we make cost-effective recommendations, and we do a thorough economic analysis, because the reality is most businesses, well, most people in general, when I spend money on something that I consider to be an investment, I want a relatively quick payback period, right? I don't want to spend thousands of dollars and have to wait 20 to 25 years to get a return on my investment. That just makes absolutely no economic sense for a business, for anyone really. I mean, as a private person, you know, if I spend money on something that I want to save me money, I want the quickest return on that investment as possible. So we do a very thorough economic analysis based on all of the variables in terms of your budget, what we're looking to save. We do life cycle cost analysis, especially in the case of renewable energy systems, because as Julian mentioned, a typical solar system has a very long life cycle. Usually the panels are warranted for 25 years. So, you know, you want to do a very thorough life cycle cost analysis, and all of that makes the business case for those investments. At the end of the day, we want the client to get value for money, because especially in an instance where you are obtaining a loan and you have to consider the cost of capital associated, you know, the bank is not going to lend you that money for free. So when you consider the fact that that's money that you have to pay back, and you have the cost of capital associated with paying back that money. So you want to make sure that the customer has that information. Additionally, you want to be able to quantify those savings after the energy efficiency upgrades that are being installed, and also the renewable systems that are being installed. So included in the energy audit report, which is the final deliverable, is we include what we call a measurement and verification plan. After you would have installed the recommended energy efficiency upgrades and also the renewable system, because we want to quantify the savings. We want to say, okay, we projected that you're going to save you $10,000 a year. We want to quantify those savings after you would have done the installations to say that we actually achieved the objectives. So that's extremely important as a part of a complete energy audit report. We want to indicate the methods with which we're going to quantify those savings afterwards. And an energy audit would come behind after you would have done those installations, and we would do the actual measurement and verification process, inclusive of operational verification. And what that means simply is making sure that the systems are operating as advertised or as the installers would have indicated that they would perform. A lot of times I do audits after the fact. You know, sometimes installers would hire me after the fact, solar installers, when usually there's a dispute between the client and the vendor because the client believes that they're not achieving the savings that were advertised. So doing an energy audit report is always recommended in the first instance. You know, it's a risk mitigation for all parties concerned. You know, it protects all parties because at the end of the day, the client has to be satisfied with the product at the end of the day, and the installer, because there are instances where things change after what we call the baseline period. As an example, your building might have been 2,000 square feet prior to installing that PV system. You know, generally speaking, the larger your building, the more energy you're going to use. So if you do an expansion to your building afterwards, obviously that will impact the savings because that's additional electrical load that your facility will require. So it's risk mitigation to protect everyone.
That sounds like a very, very thorough report. Now, I need to know, and I'm sure some of the persons that's here in the room and online, they want to know, is there a simple version of an energy audit report that businesses can actually do themselves?
A business or anyone can do what we call a simple walkthrough analysis to obtain just basic an idea of your potential savings. Mm-hmm. But this is a very technical process, as you would have heard me explain. So that basic analysis won't be sufficient to make the business case. For instance, if you have inefficient lighting, you could have change them out to LED. I mean, the cost of LED bulbs have dropped significantly over the last couple of years. Even energy efficient air conditioning systems, the prices are continuing to drop. So you can get a basic idea of your potential for savings, but especially in the instance where you want to obtain financing, you would want to have a qualified professional who's experienced and who can provide that business case for you to make those investments.
All right, thank you for that. Mr. Smith, I see, this question is for you. Can business owners get, all things considered, what Mr. Clark just said, can business owners get energy efficiency advice from Google? Or must they always speak to a certified energy consultant?
That's a very good question. I will tell you the truth. There are not much things you can't find from Google. I mean, between Google and YouTube, you could actually educate yourself. I will say I would say you can get a whole lot of information from Google, but it will always be good to connect with somebody on the ground, because maybe your situation might vary from the information that you're getting, and Google can't see what your challenge is. And so it's good for information gathering. It's good to make yourself acclaim with the knowledge and what's out there and some of the opportunities that exist. But really, when you're getting down to getting it done, it's good to connect with a professional.
All right, thank you for that. And Mr. Clark, back to you. What does the average small business spend on electricity costs each month? Just on average.
Well, before I begin to answer that question, so there is no across-the-board how should I say it? Energy use intensity for a small business. So in terms of the way we usually characterize the energy consumption profile of small businesses, or any business for that matter, is by something we call the principal business activity. In other words, the way or the primary your operation for that particular facility. So for instance, an office would have a different load profile than, say, a restaurant or a medical facility. You know, they might both be what you would call small businesses, but you know, a restaurant, as you could imagine, they have much more energy-intensive loads. You know, you got the kitchen stuff, you're gonna have air conditioning if it's a dining restaurant, all that sort of stuff. A typical office, you have lighting, you have the office, the plug loads, the office equipment such as your computers and all that sort of stuff. You have air conditioning, but usually that's on the lower end of the spectrum. But in terms of an average monthly cost, it varies, to answer your question. In the Bahamas, unfortunately, we don't have something like what they do in the US. The Energy Information Administration in the US, which is a sub-entity of the Department of Energy, every 6 years they do what we call an energy consumption survey. So across all of the business types, they would gather data to actually determine what the energy consumption profile is across all of the business types. I'm hoping that at some point, and this is a pretty good start what you guys doing with this energy efficiency survey, but we would need to have a specialized agency with statisticians who are trained in collecting energy information, because energy information is really, really complex. That's only one component. It's a whole lot that goes into collecting that data. So maybe this initiative will spur the government to consider establishing something similar to the Energy Information Administration, so that we could really have a proper understanding of the energy consumption profile across the board. And by the way, they have two types. They do the commercial building energy consumption survey, but they also do the residential energy consumption survey. So they have an idea as to what the residences are using, and they do it by geographic location. And the reason they do that is because, as you can imagine, your energy profile in South Florida, for instance, is going to be significantly different than your energy profile in, say, Chicago or New York, because you have different climate types, and that affects your energy consumption. South Florida is not going to have any demands for heating. But in the US, in areas where you have or require heating, the heating costs are actually more than what you pay for electricity. It's significantly more in a lot of instances, especially in areas where they don't have a readily supply of natural gas or heating oil. So, you know, if you follow the news, you'll see them complaining about it all the time. So, you know, we are blessed in the sense that we don't have to pay for heating because our electricity costs are high. So I don't think we would want to pay for heating.
My name is Joshua Miller, and I'm the owner of Limeade Bahamas. We started out in 2014, but my entrepreneurship journey started many years prior to. At the tender age of 6, my father taught me the value of a dollar and good work ethic. Fast forwarding on to 2022, we moved into the industrial park. At that time, we were challenged with the decision of, should we spend $70,000 on a transformer and still up the $5,000, $6,000 bills, or renewable energy? So with the assistance of the SPDC, we were able to purchase a solar system that runs our operation currently, 90%. Quite a bit of things are run through the solar system. We have a 36-foot cooler container that runs off the solar system. We have 4 mixing tanks as well that run off the solar system. We also have a filling line that runs off the solar system. Components of our bottle blowing machine also runs off the solar system. Renewable energy gave us life. Without renewable energy, we would have been stuck paying a loan of $70,000 while also having to battle monthly bills of $5,000, $6,000. You know, something like that is definitely not sustainable for a small business. So I definitely think renewable energy was definitely the choice. And as mentioned, by the assistance of the SPDC, it was all possible. Hi, my name is Joshua Miller, and I'm an energy efficiency star.
Hi, my name is Aaron Pinder. I'm the CEO of Perfect Tone. Perfect Tone has been open since 1980, and we provide skincare products that we manufacture and skincare services that deal with multiple skin concerns for Black women and men. Perfect Tone started in 1980 by my mother. When she moved to the Bahamas from London, she realized that there were a lot of Black women and men walking around with marks and scars among their face, comfortable because there wasn't anything made for them at the time. So she actually became a pioneer in the industry, being one of the first to supply skincare for people of color. About 94% of our customers have a high satisfaction rating as they receive results within 30 days of using their products or services at Perfect Tone. So in August 2022, we won the Sustainable Business Competition. And I believe that we won it because we showed our sales, we showed our resilience over the past 43 years and the amount of recessions and pandemic that we went through, and we were still able to grow throughout that. That, as well as the fact that only 9 out of 119 skincare businesses in the Bahamas renewed their business license from 2015 to 2018. I think all of that, along with us manufacturing our products and them being safe and eco-friendly, that shows the value of the brand and that our products do work and that it is a sustainable business for the future. And I believe that that's why Fidelity awarded us with the $10,000 for winning that competition. So my family, including my business family, we focus on renewable energy all day. We are the type of people, we compost, we have solar, we focus on the SEER ratings of our ACs, we have smart appliances on timers, we know about insulation, the type of insulation to use and where to put it, converting to LED and knowing that you don't have to use as much LED as other bulbs because it takes up a bigger surface area. Perfect Tone believes about perfection in the details. And with working so long on perfecting our customer's skin, we look at the details such as conservation of energy too, and renewable energy. We have to focus on that in order to become profitable and become a sustainable business. Perfect Tone has proven itself over the past 43 years of being a sustainable business. And that not only includes how we manufacture our products, but how we do our services as well.
For more information, call us at 461-7232 or WhatsApp us at 359-0626. If you prefer to email, the address is helpdesk@sbdcbahamas.com. Finally, our website is accessaccelerator.com. From January to June 2022, small business owners around the Bahamas spent over $30 million on electricity and fuel costs. What can you expect in 2023? Based on recurring headlines, price increases reflected on your electric bill and on gas station pumps. Ultimately, the potential impact for small businesses is less profitability and less sustainability. There's good news. The Renewable Energy Initiative is a collaboration between the Small Business Development Center, Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, Bahamas Power and Light, and Grand Bahama Power Company. Our main objective is to address the issue of rising energy costs. The first step in addressing any problem is understanding the problem. This is why we're asking all business owners throughout the Bahamas to take our energy efficiency survey. Help us understand which industries are more or less energy efficient based on facility size, employee count, and customer count. In exchange, we are conducting live information sessions starting February 9th to talk about renewable energy solutions like LED lighting, spray foam insulation, smart appliances, and of course, solar panels. What are the varying grades and prices for solar panels? What is the proper process for going off-grid? Can your business sell excess energy to BPL and GBPC? These are the kinds of questions we invite business owners to bluntly ask. In addition to a wealth of information, your business can access up to $500,000 to make your business more energy efficient. This funding is available through our partners Fidelity Bank, Royal Bank, Bahamas Development Bank, Simplified Lending, National Workers Credit Union, as well as Teachers and Salaried Workers Credit Union. Once your application is approved, the government of the Bahamas will sign as your guarantor, covering between 75% to 90% of the principal amount. Recap. 1. Take the energy efficiency survey using the survey link below. 2. Attend our live information sessions and town hall meeting. 3. Access renewable energy funding using the application link below. 4. Obtain our endorsement or government guarantee ranging between 75% to 90% of your approved funding. And number 5, become an energy efficiency star. For more information, call us at 461-7232 or WhatsApp us at 359-0626. If you prefer to email, the address is helpdesk@sbdcbahamas.com. Finally, our website is accessaccelerator.org.